So what we're going to discuss is 3.5 equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. That's what you want to label your notes as. 3.5 equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. First, what we're going to get into is basically the first example in your book, which is partitioning a directed line segment. But before we get into that, you need to know what a directed line segment is. So a directed line segment, AB, is a segment that represents moving from point A to point B. So if you moved from point A to point B, that's what a directed line segment is. Now I'm going to give you an example that shows us how we can partition a directed line segment. So think about the word partition. Look that word up if you're not sure what it means, and that's what we're going to do to this line segment. So I basically just copied example 1 from the book. So what it says is we have to find the coordinates of P along the directed line. So we know that this guy from here to here is the directed line of the line segment AB, so that the ratio of AP to BP is 3 to 2. So we want to find a point P right here that will be a 3 to 2 ratio. Now, before we can even do that, in order to divide the segment into a ratio of 3 to 2, we know that partitioning or dividing, that's pretty much what partitioning means when you looked it up, we want to put it into the segment into basically 5 congruent pieces. Well, you might say, well, where did you get the 5 from? Well, if you think about it, if you take 3 plus 2, you get 5. So we basically want to have 5 congruent pieces. So if I went and we wanted to find and apply this to the slope, if you think about it, if I have 3/5, that's how far up on the line I want to go. So I want to go 3/5 from point A to point B. So wherever that is, 3/5. Well, what you have to do is we have to find out what the slope is of this line first. So if you recall, well, how do you find the slope of something? You can either use the rise over the run, the change in the y, and the change in the x, or go ahead and use your slope formula, which we know is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 equals x sub 1. So basically that is just 8 minus 2, 6 minus 3, which will be 6 over 3. This is my rise right here, and this is my run. Now we want to leave it like this, okay? So star somewhere in your notes. Do not simplify, okay? Don't simplify. All right, that's important. We don't want to simplify this. All right, so we're going to use that value as we go. So I'm going to delete some of this stuff, just try to situate it. So we want to find a point that is 3/5 away from point A. So what we want to do is we want to take our run. We know that before it was 6 over 3. This was our run. This was our rise. So what we want to do here is basically just take that run and we'll take 3/5 of it. So 3/5 of 3. Well, what do you do with that? That's just 3/5 times 3. And if you do that out, you'll get 1.8. Now let's find the rise. So we're going to do the same thing. 3/5 of 6, which is the same thing as saying 3/5 times 6 equals 3.6. So these numbers right here are important. We're going to do something to that. Or we're basically going to do something to the A value. I want to move this X value, and I want to add 1.8 to it. And then I want to add 3.6 to the 2 value. If we want to find our P value, well, we know that we're going to add something to our X value of the A. So the 3, that's where this 3 came from, was from this guy right here. And we're going to add 1.8 to it. So our X value will be 4.8. And then our Y value, we'll take the 2 from this guy over here, and we're going to go ahead and add, you got it, the 3.6 to that. So our value of P will be 4.8 and 5.6. So basically P, when you graph it, and I'm not going to really graph the scale because it's going to be tough with the stylus, would be around here somewhere. So if you think about it, that's P. So that point should be 3/5 of the whole segment. oops, didn't mean to do that. It should have been 3/5 of this whole segment. So if it's 3/5, then this piece from P to B should be 2/5. Now I'm going to give you an example, and you guys can give this a try. So go ahead and give this example a try, and then if you notice, when you're done, if you look at this little play button right there, too bad you can't play it through this. I'm going to try to figure out a way to actually do it through our notes when I can. But if you have the dynamic ebook, you can click right on that, and it'll actually walk you through the problem when you're done. And I'll show you how to do that right now. So what you want to do is you want to log into your Clever account. When you get to your Clever account, and I think you view it like this, click on where it says Apps. So if you click on where it says Apps, when you do that, you'll get a screen that pops up that looks like this right here. And when you get this screen, do you see where it says Dynamic ebook? When you do that, you should be able to click on an app. So you can put it through your, if you have an Android, you can put it on your iPhone or your Mac or your PC. So when you do that, you're able to hit these interactive buttons, and I think it's a huge help because it'll walk you through step by step on how to do it. You can see how to do it correctly. So check that out. Hopefully you guys can access that, and maybe you already have, but I wasn't too sure. So I just wanted to show that to you. So have a good one, and I will see you next class. Adios.